Chapter 213. Either I hear you have been training at dawn with Everbeck lately. What? Did you start with a particular goal in mind? If so, is it going well? Yes. Taken aback by the sudden change in topic, Either nodded. These days, as he'd asked, he was training with Ever every morning. Although they called it training, it was essentially observing the flow of Ever's power as she exercised it, and it turned out to be more interesting than expected. Ever was clumsier than his previous life that Either knew of, but her power control was undeniably more delicate compared to other awakeners. Either's current goal was to learn the technique and apply it to himself. However, he hadn't expected Kishir to bring up the topic abruptly, and it took him a while to understand the implication and respond. Ever is currently the most proficient among us in controlling small units of power. I am getting her help as I am somewhat clumsy in that area. Thais Yulman and his apprentice are continually assisting you as well. Kishir changed the topic again. After the underground lab incident, Thais Yulman had moved his research lab at the order of Kishir. His new lab was a warehouse building within the Imperial Knight, a short distance from the cavalry. Despite the fatigue from moving his belongings over several days, he seemed even more ecstatic than ever, tirelessly planning his future research. His apprentice, Alec, was training his awakened water control abilities while assisting his master. Every time Either visited, Alec would fervently bombard him with questions, leading to hours-long conversations if he get a hold of him. In truth, the total amount of water Alec could summon was barely enough to fill a cup, but it couldn't be deemed powerful. However, his development speed surpassed any other member, perhaps due to his experience of watching mages wielding elemental magic over his shoulder. Because of this, Either had high expectations for him. Combining all that, Either responded in a word. Yes, it's my duty. Aren't you also frequenting the medical division, monitoring the training of the deputy commanders, and investigating the two awakeners who belong to the Star of Nagran? Yes. Why would he ask how I have been when he seems to know more about my routine than I do? Kishir laughed a bit more deeply at Either's awkward response that seemed to contain that question. And yet, you're asking for more tasks. Are you serious? I wouldn't mind having even more tasks than now. A typical answer from Either Ale, but I didn't bring this up to watch you suffer from overworking. Suddenly, Either felt a formless energy drawing his body. He slightly turned his head. Although it was invisible to the eye, an energy that had filled the commander's office was now fluctuating in the air. It was Kishir's energy. He could tell right away. The unrestrained energies in sync with their master's will, freely fluctuating in a rather fierce manner, circling around Either. Either watched Kishir while trying not to be distracted by that energy. But isn't that the best way? There is a simpler alternative. What else could keep him longer in the commander's office besides work? As Either frowned slightly, Kishir whispered in a voice so sweet that it made his heart flutter. When you wish to stay, stay for as long as you like. What do you think? Even if he tried to consider it casually, he could immediately understand that the implied meaning was far from ordinary. Seeing the face tinted with the blatant color of desire, seemingly expecting a response, thirst reflexively sprang forth within Either. His mouth began to dry, but he swallowed hard, struggling to suppress that heat. I will keep that in mind. Just keep it in mind. The precarious atmosphere felt more potent today, probably because of the unrestrained aura that Kishir exuded. Reason warned him not to be swept away by such a formidable force. I will also make an effort. Well, you won't be swayed easily. Kishore smiled slightly, a twinkle in his eyes. Not knowing why he found it amusing, Kishore laughed softly for a while before leaning back in his chair, exhaling deeply. A few moments later, only a deep gaze remained in the place where the laughter had faded, and silence followed. Kishore, staring as if piercing Yudhar's innermost thoughts with his red eyes, opened his mouth. Were you not upset that I haven't been around much? Yudhir suddenly wondered if this was what Kishore had wanted to ask him all along. He couldn't be sure, but it felt like that. I was fine, but as he continued, Yudhir noticed the peculiar look in Kishore's eyes and quickly changed his words. When I heard from Sir Zakarman earlier, he mentioned that your cycle has been longer this time. I was quite worried about that. So, that's what you were discussing with Nathan. Finally, it seemed that the mystery was resolved. Kishore nodded slowly. There is no need to worry. The cycle being longer is simply because I have been trying to release my energy in the most natural way, doing nothing in particular. Despite how Nathan may seem, he worries a lot and sometimes sees situations too negatively. So, the lengthening of his cycle was due to a natural release of energy. Did that mean he had been expelling in some other way before? The phrasing was odd, but it would be strange to probe further. After hesitating for a moment, Yudhir asked briefly, But are you okay? I have to make sure I am. There was a glimmer of heat in Kishore's gentle gaze. Having discovered the truth, I don't want to cover my eyes with other things and live in vain. He didn't understand what that meant, but for some reason, seeing Kishore so exhilarated made him feel all right. His skin prickled where the gaze full of warmth landed. Yudhir swallowed, as if shaking off the sensation that seemed to crawl up his spine. Understood. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. I want to touch. A sudden remark changed the atmosphere again. As Yudhir's mouth fell open, as if he was about to question, What? Kishore repeated his statement. I really want to touch. What do you mean? Yudhir questioned, but he already knew the answer. His gaze was fixed on his face. He couldn't feign ignorance even if he wanted to. A moment later, as if to ask whether he really didn't understand, Kishore raised his hand slightly, a secret smile creeping up the corner of his mouth, and his premonition turned into a complete certainty. Why such pointless acts? He found himself unable to tear his eyes away, as if the spectacle before him was verging on the obscene. How he wished he could brush it off and flee as easily as in the past when he saw the man as nothing more than a pesky serpent. But those days were long gone. Where would you like it to be? Are you really going to let me touch you? A heavy murmur broke the silence, yielding an unexpected reaction, as though the proposition had never been anticipated. As long as it doesn't cross any inappropriate boundaries, it should be fine. Inappropriate, huh? Kishore shot a question back at Yudhir, who was gently nodding, as if to confirm the boundaries. Can I touch your hair? Yes. And your hand? Yes. Can I touch your cheek as well? What about your ear? Yes. It felt ridiculous to check each point, but Yudhir answered nonetheless. How about here? Kishore lightly tapped the area below his lips with his index finger, a playful smile in his eyes. Are you sorry, or were you planning on mocking me from the start? Chilled by the reply, Kishore suddenly hid half his face, bursting into a gleeful laughter. Yudhir, about to retort, instead stood stupefied, staring blankly at his face. Perhaps a flower blooming and melting under the warm sunlight was akin to this moment. Despite having seen Kishirlaor's smiling face countless times before, Yudir realized he had never witnessed such an expression. The recognition surfaced fleetingly in his mind before quickly dissipating. The laugh of a man he thought he knew so well seemed foreign, something never seen before, and it pierced deep into Yudir's heart. I'm sorry. I do want to touch you, but I can't right now. I'm afraid once I touch you, I won't be able to stop. His bittersweet muttering, tainted with laughter, echoed in Yudir's ears. It was only after these words settled did Yudir manage to blink and return to his senses. It's such a shame, given you had even given permission. Your Grace, your tea is ready. Yudir, who should have responded but couldn't muster a thought, was fortunate that Nathan Zuckerman returned at just the right moment. Seeing the remnants of Kishir's laughter on his face, Nathan paused momentarily, then glanced briefly at Yudir. Did something happen? Just a very cute incident. Want to know? Despite Kishir's jesting remark, Nathan showed no reaction. Having dealt with Kishir's teasing numerous times before, Nathan placed the teapot and cups on the table with an unchanging stoic expression. This allowed Yudir to regain his composure. I'll finish the rest of my tasks then. Do so. Kishir waved a hand in dismissal, still smiling. Yudir quickly returned to his seat, pulling the letters he had sorted towards him. His intention was to read them all as quickly as possible and leave, but the gaze on the side of his face was quite unnerving. This is a letter from the Imperial Mages. This one looks like it's about the cost incurred from summoning those people for the trial. And this one too. And this is... His gaze, moving at top speed to decipher the words, suddenly halted at one point. Yudir frowned as he held two letters, staring at the characters written on their fronts. One is from the commander of the Imperial Knights, Theodoro van Tain, and the other from the second Prince Eugene, Afnan of Nerlan. Both of them request letters.